Yo, what's up, guys? We got another video at hand, and a question I've been seeing asked a few times. I see a few content creators also answered, but to be honest, I don't really like the answer. And the question is, who is better, a Diting or a Victor? And some people also want to include Rhenium Bao, but Rhenium Bao I also right away want to cross off from your list. And what is the main question? Who is better as a single target damage dealer? And especially early game where you don't have that many resources, who should you be focusing your resources on to be building in the first place? Well, Rhenium Bao does have one really big issue. And that issue is not being the right element in Terramatan. Because Terramatan is the green one, she the blue one, she dead, not useful. She's really good in Aurora, however. But then again, both Diting and Victor are really good in both dungeons over here as well. Neither of them are good in Doki Doki. Also, both of them are good in the shell drops. There's a few of them where you could definitely use them, like Nana Nico. I think in all of them, maybe not in... Well, I think over here you could probably use them towards good extent as well. So, for that reason, I would say Rhenium Bao is something I don't recommend to be using. Plus, there's another fact that there is a one-to-one really good translation in an SSR, which just simply means Rosa does that job do a lot better. Also, a thing is, if you tend to go for Rosa, then it is going to be less interesting to be focusing a lot of resources on Victor and Diting. If we exclude Rosa and we just look at Victor and Diting, a lot of players have been saying, or a few content creators have been saying, build both. Which is actually, yes, that is the strong factor. That is, for example, the team that I was using before on the Terramatan as well, where I used both because both of them do have a very strong factor where they work very well together. But the big issue is, you're not going to be having the resources to build both in most cases. And yeah, then you got to choose both one or the other. And since it is a damage dealer, I recommend to make it actually all the way towards a 6-star, because damage dealers in most cases want to be 6-star and stuff. So for that reason, you do actually want to be focusing on one first and not both. But as you can see in this video over here, both of them do a good amount of damage, and you probably do want to be aiming at looking at both at some point. But the big question is, who do you go for first? Because you have a bit of a trade-off. And let me actually grab a notepad to write down the pros and the cons between the two of them. So we have a little bit of a notepad here on the side. If we go for Diting and we go for Victor, is it Diting or Diting? Diting. So first of all, Diting in general is easier to build. And why is he easier to build? Well, it's because of his passive. The passive will go on the marked target, and therefore the marked target you do extra crit rate and extra crit damage on, and therefore it's just simply a lot easier to do. However, he is also harder to use. Why is that harder to use? Well, let me take this example in Terramatan as well. Let's say we would go into Terramatan. We would go for the team that we were using before, and I'm just going to remove the Victor, and I'm going to be using the Diting, and let's say that we put a Marvel on the spot of the Victor. If we do this right now, so what will be the big issue that we most likely walk into? So if we AoE right now, let's say I do have shells that target like the single target as well, but just for the idea, let's say I wouldn't have those, and I would just do AoEs where I do as much damage to the boss as I do to the middle part and everything like that. So for the people that already do know the thing, you already do know what the problem at hand I'm going to be looking into. So in this case, I do want to hit on the main boss right now, imagining that he could kill. But the side crystals, due to all of the AoEs, or the side crystals, I'm so used to summon as well. But the side arms in this case, they take so much damage that I have to focus on the arm right now to actually kill it. Whereas this might be a team where I actually wanted to kill the boss right away. And sure, it's not a bad thing always, but there's going to be more options where you completely want to ignore the things on the side, and you do only want to be hitting the things in the middle. But due to all of the AoEs and not dealing enough damage to it, in this case, I do have the Jackal Shell, which does hit after, or it does hit the target that you're hitting yourself. But if you have some other shell, like the Black Knight or the sheep kind of looking thingy, then you definitely do get into the issue where he might become harder to use, because you have to go for, it has to be on the lowest HP possible. But he is definitely more damage. That is 100% a thing. He is easy to build. He has more damage. but he might be harder to use in some situations, and that is because of that what he's hitting has to be on the lowest HP. Then what are the pros and cons for Victor? So I would say harder to build, but he's also he would be more damage if low HP. So that would be one of those things if you because his passive is actually where he does start to deal more damage the moment his HP is lower. So if you're using a team where you do get 2 or 3 hits from the enemy first, I'm using a team with Freya, so therefore he's always at full HP, so I don't really get use of the passive at all. But if he's at lower HP, he definitely would do more damage than at the thing. And then we would have had, of course, one really big factor, which is insane with Lily. And what is insane with Lily? Well, that is going to be this one over here. Lily does have the skill that you pair up with an ally. And with that pair up of an ally, you're going to give on the skill 1. You're going to be attacking on the skill 1 on that ally as well. In the case of the thing, you always kind of want to get the passive up to actually do a proper amount of damage. Whereas Victor, the passive will always work just because the passive is based on the state of his HP. And for that reason, if you do build a Lily, then I would 100% go for that. This is so much of a factor that I would always build a Victor first, and I would not look at the thing at all. So I think that this is really an overhand argument that you would say, like, go for one or the other. However, can you still make good arguments for going for the thing? It does also kind of matter who has the better like shells and who has the better things in general. Because in both cases, you probably want to go for the White Knight. I think it's called, or White Fang. But for the modules itself, I did notice that Victor, you do want to get towards that 100 crit rate. You do probably want to focus more. Well, momentum is maybe not really the greatest. You could go for the onslaught. But it's definitely one of those things where you really focus on, like, okay, I have to land that crit, and I need as much crit rate as possible. Whereas in the case of the thing, it's only 50 crit rate. So therefore, it's also like, do you get good ones on crit damage all throughout? Then the thing might be more interesting. Do you have some good that are good on crit damage, but also a really good crit rater? Then it might be more interesting on Victor. Then again, if the thing is high on crit rate, the excess crit rate of this thing does go into crit damage. But there is a really big but with that. It's like, oh, that's still the same. Doesn't matter, right? Well, the thing is, crit rates or crit damages are 60s, whereas a crit rater is a 40. So this 40 would also be a 40 crit damage, whereas this is a 60 crit damage. So that is definitely a big jump between one to the other, where I would say if you have really good crit damages on the right side, maybe it is more interesting to go for the thing. If you have very good overall split where you do get towards a good 100% crit rate, then it's maybe more interesting to go for a Victor. Well, there's a lot of ifs and buts. So what to build first? Well, let's do it over here. First, I would say if you have Lily, then we say Victor. For sure. Like if you have Lily, 100% go for Victor. Also, what might be a thing is, who do you have more duplicates of? So maybe you want to hold down on not building either or for a little bit and wait until, like, how many duplicates? So, woo, more dupe, build that one. So you might want to be waiting out a little bit for building it, because at the start, you're still focusing on your Leon first, and you don't really need a second damage dealer that early on just yet. The moment you get more towards the end game, that's where you go for that. So maybe wait a little bit for building it. Would you ask, say, what are you planning to do between the two of them? Personally, I will probably go for Victor. And because I'm planning to go for rerolling for a Lily, choice is a Victor. And I think he's a little bit more all-round and a little bit easier to use and a little bit less stressful. It's like, ooh, I have to make sure that it's the right thing at the right moment and that kind of stuff. So I think Victor is a little bit more all-round and a little bit more usable. But then again, you have to keep in mind, at some point, you will build both. So it's not really a waste if you do put some resource into one and then you actually switch to the other one. So at some point, you will probably build both. But for first, I think I'd rather go for a Victor than a Diting. But that is my personal preference. Is one really that much stronger than the other? Not necessarily, but for pros and cons, there's probably in the comment section, maybe you guys can add up a few others. Or let me actually know in the comment section if you're going for the Diting first or you're going for Victor first. But at some point, you will probably build both. Also, another thing is, if you do go for a Rosa, I would actually hold off on building any. So let's say if Rosa, build neither. Okay, the neither part you don't really see, but I would say build neither if you go for Rosa, at least early on. Like sure, later on, you go for build later. And the main reason is because you're going to focus your best damage set on Rosa. Sure, you're not going to be having a good clear unit for Terramaton because Rosa is the wrong element on a Terramaton. But then you just got to make sure that you keep your Leon for a little bit longer. That's just the main one on that. And then Leon becomes your main damage dealer over there. And then you're still totally fine. You don't really need those two for Terramaton. It's just useful. But the moment you have Rosa, of course, you're going to use Rosa towards Aurora. Anything where you can use Rosa, you will use Rosa. So those are kind of the ifs and buts, like food to build. So I think, in my opinion, if I pull a Lily, I will definitely go for Victor. If I pull a Lily and a Rosa, I will go for a Rosa. That is going to be definitely the thing. If I don't get a Lily and I don't get a Rosa, I will probably go for the Diting. But I still keep in mind that it kind of depends who I got more duplicates of. So if I get more duplicates on Victor, I will probably still go Victor. And you can have to keep in mind that it might be at any given time that you have to build both. So it's not that bad if you focus a bunch of resources into this. You happen to pull a Lily later and then still be like, oh, now I want to switch things to Victor. You just put the thing on the storage bench for a little bit and you probably get back to him at a later point. Because in the end, there's definitely a plenty of other stages as well. If we look at the shell drops right here, which I will do a video on later as well, I think it's going to be a video of tomorrow, you still see like a decent amount where you do still see clears where people are using both. Well, in this case, it's actually more Victors over here in Nana Nico. Let's see what we have in Sharon. Do we have, okay, we have the double, in this case, single, and then single, it would go for Victor. And then besides that, the single, these are getting a little bit slower as well. But if you want to go full fast, it's still the double up. If we go for the next one, Shadow Hoyan, I think this is going to be more AoEs. Okay, there's a lot more dot clears. So dot clears, of course, very strong as well. Also, I do see the clear on double water. Don't think people are going to have that anytime soon, but that's definitely an option. Okay, you don't actually see any Victors in here whatsoever. Also an option, of course. And I think this one is also based more on AoEs. No, actually still these. So actually the double, single over here. So yeah, in most cases, in general, I do tend to see more Victors for fast clears than the things for fast clears. So I would lean more towards Victor in general than I would lean towards the thing. And that's going to be my thing. So I would say if Victor over here, this one over there. And if we give it to a Rosa goes over there. It's a simple fact for it. So in my case, I will have a slight upper hand to Victor. So in this case, you do actually have an answer rather than just simply like, oh, you're going to build both. Like, no, you don't have the resources to build both very early on. And therefore, I want to give you an answer that actually makes sense, saying like, okay, you're going to build one or the other. Video of tomorrow is going to be the video on the fastest runs on the Shell dungeons. If you're interested in that, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.